How are you? I'm the NH Bassmaster. I just want to talk to you a little bit today about my selection that I have here for topwaters and buzzbaits. As you can see, there's not an awful lot of them. These are baits that I've tested. I've thinned through a bunch of stuff. I've wasted I don't know how many dollars over the years spending money on every little gimmick bait and every kind of bait that's out there. Narrowed it down. I found a few that worked. So this is what I keep my stock loaded with. First, as you can see, we're going to go with the buzzbaits. I've just got a few different colors here. This is a June bug color, and this is a yellow and black color by Booyah. It's a small 3/16 ounce buzzbait. It's got a smaller profile. A lot of times when you get finicky bass, smallmouth bass, sometimes especially that hold around the weeds, these baits are really good. They have a smaller profile, a little bit subtle presentation compared to some of the larger buzzbaits. These are colors I'll typically throw after I throw the color white, just as a little experiment to see. I've caught a few bass on those two colors that wouldn't go for the whites. Primarily I have white for my buzzbaits. Again, this is a Strike King. It's a 3/16 ounce, smaller profile, smaller presentation. This is probably the buzzbait that I've caught the most bass with. It's worked out real well. It's got the silver blade, the white skirt, so it does look like a bait fish. You got to remember that when a fish is looking up from underneath the surface, the first thing they're going to see is the belly of a fish or a frog, and it's going to look white to them. They're going to see that surface disturbance like it's something that's trying to get away quick, like it's an injured bait fish. It's usually a big trigger for them. Nighttime, I know that the general rule is, throw a bigger bait so the bass have an easier time locating it and finding it. However, I've noticed over the years through experimentation that once it gets dark, I've picked up more fish, bass, pickerel. I've even caught some perch on this. The smaller bait for some reason seems to do well. Now, in different areas of the country, further south where the bass are a little bit bigger, somewhere in the Midwest, a bigger bait would probably work better. But from what I found up here in the Northeast, this bait is killer at night. Something that I'll do early in the morning, especially on those really hot days, is I'm going to throw a bigger bait, bigger topwater here around the lily pads, the weeds. I'll even throw this over rock piles. I'll work it shallow, then I'll cast a little bit deeper. I've fished this over about 20 feet of water before and caught smallmouth bass. This is a Bass Pro Shops in the color Bleeding Minnow, and also in white and red. These two colors, again, they're very good. They got the bigger presentation. This is a 3/8 ounce. Causes a lot of disturbance. It's a bigger profile. I've caught fish all the way down to about 8 ounces on this bait before, so they will hit it and they will attack it if they think it's something to eat. And same thing here. This is a Booyah. Same color. It's I think this one's called Bleeding Minnow. It's got the red hook. It's got some red. It's got some shiner color in the skirt as well as the whites. From below the surface, the fish is going to see that profile. They're going to see the white. They're going to think it's the underbelly of a fish, maybe even a frog. They're going to go for it. So those are my spinner baits. Literally, that's what I have for spinner baits. I have a few of each in that color. Those are the ones that have worked. Over to poppers. First couple that I've got here is the Heddon, the Lucky 13s. This is bullfrog color. I also have one in chrome and black. Something that some people do right out of the package, they'll take these hooks and the mounts off. They'll put a split ring on with a different treble hook just for a little freer movement. My other two sets have the split rings with the treble hooks. I just haven't had a chance to get these. These are kind of my spares and backups. What I'll do is I'll cast these out, let them sit for 10, 20, 30 seconds, maybe even a minute, pop them a couple times, reel them quick, stop, let it pause for a little bit till the ripples go away, and start all over again. It's all about experimenting with colors, usually around lily pads and a bunch of topwater vegetation. I'll throw the frog color first. Typically that's the frog habitat. It's going to seem like a more natural bait. If the frog doesn't work, I'll switch out and I'll throw the chrome with the black. A lot of times this will draw a strike. It will look like an injured fish, or it'll look like a bait with something wrong with it, kicking around at the surface. And for a lot of fish, that looks like an easy meal. These are really popular with bass, particularly largemouth. It's got a little bit bigger profile to it. Pickerel will hit these too. And I would imagine if you're on an area with a lot of northern pike, those will also strike these lures. And then I have some Bass Pro Shops XPS poppers. I got basically two colors in these. I have gold and I got silver sexy shads. And these have also worked out real well. This particular lure, the gold sexy shad, I caught a 6-ounce largemouth bass, and 3 casts later, I caught a 4.5-pound largemouth on it. Same thing, you can fish this, around rocks in the open water, fish these around weeds. If you get into really thick vegetation, obviously those treble hooks are going to hang up, but if you can cast and get that perfect angle, stay right along the edge of the weeds, right along the edge of the lily pads, these work out real well. Same thing, cast these out, let them sit till the ripples go away, or you can cast them out and as soon as they hit the water, start ripping them. A lot of times, especially if you're fishing around trees or some other kind of vegetation, this will look like something that falls out of the tree and it's skittering across the top of the water. Real easy target. They've both got the white bellies. A lot of times when you pop these, the fish will see the white underbelly. It'll look like a bait fish. Once it starts to roll side to side, they'll catch a little flash of that gold. They'll catch a little flash of that silver. And sometimes it's going to be enough to trigger a strike. So that's really it for my topwater lures. There's not a big selection, but I've thinned out and I've kept the baits that I know work. I've kept the baits that I know are going to catch fish. Instead of spending hundreds of dollars on baits that are going to sit in my tackle box and never get used, I focus primarily on what I know is going to work. So go out, get you some decent topwater lures. If you're new to topwater fishing, stick with basic baits like these. Zara spooks work well in a lot of areas of the country. I've never had much luck with them, but someone else could be sitting here and tell you that all they do is fish Zara spooks exclusively. Find what works for you, find what you have confidence in, and then stick with it.